We have all of this data coming into all of our onboard systems. We have satellite imagery. We have all the GPS yield monitor data. And the challenge is we don't really know how to pool all that data together and develop a best management recommendations based on where that data is telling us to go. Then you couple with that all the AI technologies that are available to us. We kind of bring all that information together. We're able to actually, at this point, develop site-specific recommendations. So farmers can drop a pin in a field. We can run our algorithm and be able to help predict what the best management practices are for farmers on that specific field to be able to increase not just yield, but overall profitability. Because I think farmers for a time have been hearing, yield, yield, yield. But then when you sit down and talk to a farmer, what do they care about is the bottom line. So there's some things we can tweak that enhances both yield, but more importantly, I think the bottom line is profitability at that per acre basis.
What are those things that you can tweak then? Or that a farmer can tweak?
Yeah, I think it's pretty funny. It's kind of boring, Stu, and farmers don't like boring sometimes. But I mean, the simplest thing you can do is you go in, you plant your beans early, you control the weeds, you pick a high-yielding variety, and then you tweak the system after that. You either cover with a foliar fungicide or seed treatments based on the pest history in the field. Make sure you feed that crop accordingly. We've had record corn and soybean yields over the last decade. It's funny, Stu, we sit there and every year, this is a drought year. My corn is going to be awful. What is it? Record yield. And when we pull these record soybean and corn yields off, what are we also doing? We're pulling off record fertility levels. So there's things like that farmers can go back and that covers probably 80% of that yield variability that a farmer deals with on a given year. And then you could spend the rest of your time when you get that sorted out tweaking it. Do I need this biological? Can I incorporate cover crops? Things along those lines that really help the profitability and the bottom line for that farmer.
Okay, you give me a couple of ideas. Let's take it from right now, here this winter.
Mm-hmm.
And we're making plans for 2024 soybean crop. What sort of steps should we take before we get to that planting process next March or April?
So the first thing I would recommend farmers do is spend the time, pick a good soybean variety out. Too often farmers will invest a lot of energy picking a good corn hybrid out, and then they're aligned with a certain company, and I'm not going to say which company it is, and they're like, well, just give me your best soybean genetics. Well, their best soybean genetics might not be as good as the competitors, which will be the ones you're selling, so make sure you make those choices as a farmer. Because last year in our southern region, we saw a 17 bushel difference between the highest yielding variety and the lowest yielding variety over several locations. I mean, 17 bushels, I'll be simple math at $10 a bushel. That's $170. So basically, yeah, that's profit, right? That's pure profit because you didn't do anything different. You just picked a different bag or a different color or brand of seed. So spend your time doing that. I think often farmers get hung up at, that's $8 more a unit. Well, it may be $8 more a unit to buy that seed, but if you get a 17 bushel yield increase, that more than covers itself. And again, it doesn't cost you that, but that's it. You make that decision here you probably made that decision in August, September, but just go for it. And, as data rolls in, go back to companies and say, I know I picked this brand new variety that you sold me in August because that's when the discount was out. I want to switch to that one because I've seen some yield data come in and I think that's a better one. So feel free to push your seeds person and make those switches.
Okay. Fertility?
Yeah, so fertility is a big issue, and I think one of the challenges we see, first of all, K is the one that farmers need to invest in. If they're short on their revenue, if they go to their lender and they can only get X amount of dollars, invest in K first, because K is what drives the system. And then you can tweak phosphorus, or you can tweak sulfur if you're on a sandier soil. And then I think the last one you should really mess with are the micronutrients. They have less of a variability, unless you're in a muck soil and you need manganese, for example. Otherwise, focus on K first, and then spread your dollars out accordingly based on your soil test values for those other nutrients.
What is another one that?
Sure. I think another important thing is that I'm telling farmers to go out and plant their beans early and earlier. In fact, if you look at the state of Illinois, there's probably many counties that farmers should put all their beans in the ground before they even switch to corn and get those beans in first. Because if you just look at the yield plateau and when that yield starts to drop off. But the problem with planting beans early, when we're fighting water hemp, is that generally that first pre-emergence herbicide pass is going to start breaking about this time that water hemp seed starts to germinate and emerge. So you have to make sure you're on it to layer in that second pre-emergence herbicide pass, or that wouldn't be a post, it'd be an in-season post, but before the water hemp germinates and emerges, make sure you get that out there, because those are the best products we have to control water hemp right now. It's really hard to control water hemp in a post system. So get after it early and understand that you need to layer those residuals into that system prior to when that water hemp starts to germinate and emerge.